Here we are, I'm JB, and this is the EBW 2020 podcast from San Antonio, Texas, and I'm here with Holly Dowling.
Hey, JB.
Who you might recognize as the spokesperson for Lee Jeans.
Imagine that.
How long ago was that?
Do we really need to date me? I mean, really?
Come on, please.
Actually, what I can tell, I love that you just asked me that because it's been a while since I thought about that. It goes back to when my youngest was 6 and my oldest was 8. So right now we're looking at, 22 and 24. Does that add up?
Okay, yeah. I'm so curious because I know you have some background as an actress and modeling and commercial. When did you make the jump to coaching corporate speakers?
You know what's crazy is that it kind of didn't happen as a jump. It kind of evolved. I think that being the cruise director and then doing the modeling and commercials kind of got me some exposure and ability to own some confidence, just being on camera and doing things. But at the end of the day, it was by really starting to share my story, a true testimonial and my stories, and that's just kind of elevated. It just kind of, before I knew it, it was going from high schools to the corporations. It's a crazy journey.
It's, and I'm very fascinated by what you do, because I think most of your clientele are corporate leaders. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And it's always been a pet peeve of mine when you watch a major sporting event, right? And they bring out the corporate spokesperson to present the trophy. And they're always horrible.
Totally.
They don't know how to speak on camera to an audience, and it doesn't really sell the company. It's hard to get excited about. Is that who the people you're working with?
Well, and I'm having a visual right now, right as you said that. I'm having this visual of somebody walking out, and because I just got this most amazing trophy just speaking at an event, and I'm going back to that moment. And yes, I'm going to answer that question. Yes, that's a lot of who I speak to, but really when you think of the corporate level, like executives, C-suite, even upper level managers, think of it like this. A lot of people got there not because they went to school to say, hey, I'm going to school because I want to manage people, and then I want to be, a manager of all these people. They end up in this position, and then they're like, boy, I now have to learn how to present and how to speak. And so I do that on the side too, try to help them gain some confidence in that arena.
I know, and that person that I always see on the field, whatever, we just had all the bowl games. On behalf of American Federal, we are proud to present. It's just awful.
I know.
How do you fix that?
Well, it starts by that person having to own it and saying, I think I could use some help, and I could really, it would really help me if I could learn how to have more confidence in that. Yeah. Because you can't make somebody do something that they don't really realize they need the help with. So that's kind of the backdoor approach, right? It's like, imagine what you could do and be. And especially when you think about, I always go back to, too much is given, much is expected. They're representing their corporation, and I do a lot in boardrooms with C-suite, and I'll get tough on them because it's like, you know what? You owe it to the people to bring your best. And if you're not bringing your best, you're not helping them lead. You're not inspiring them, right?
Has there ever been anybody you just couldn't fix? You're like, I just can't. This is not going to happen.
If I told you my age and then I looked at you and said, nah, I don't think so. And you know what? Let me tell you why. Because I've never been asked that question, and I love that question. And the reason I can say I don't feel like I've had any misses in that boat, not failures, but misses, and it's all success, because I'm not about bringing it out of a box. I'm not going to make you be like something you're not. It's let's uncover the diamond in you and figure out what is magnificent and then help you have confidence instead of making you go, you got to do this, right? It's bringing out who you are. And people always leave, men and women, in tears, feeling like, oh my God, for the first time in my life, I can do this. Yeah.
I know that here we are at the Ivy Club weekend, and confidence keeps coming up again and again. And even Ingrid has told me that's like the #1 obstacle for women and as entrepreneurs and leaders, the confidence lacks. So let's go back to a time. I just know this from reading a little bit about you. There was a time where it was tough. And I think hearing those stories helps women when they're down here, they can now visualize, okay, now maybe down the road I can be like Holly on stage, or Ingrid, or Sharon. What was that like at that time for you? What was going on?
And I'm going to which time?
Oh, there's been more than one.
Oh, there's been.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting because it's like, I have this thing that I really believe, and when you say confidence, I always go to the word grace. And to me, it's a powerful word, but in the face of adversity and uncertainty, do you get bitter or better? and I've chosen to live a life that I could focus on. There was times at my very darkest and deep. I mean, if you laid out all the things that somebody could go through, I could pretty much check off the list.
Really?
I mean, I've been through, the domestic violence. I've been through having a child with cancer. I've been through losing a home, literally having my home taken away from me. So, and I don't spend my time focusing on that. I do find, though, and it didn't really occur to me till probably in the last decade, I think that what women need, and that brings them hope, is to know they see me and they go, what could you have possibly been through?
Right.
To your point.
Yeah.
And so I've started pulling back the layers of the onion, and I'm starting to share bits and pieces and feeling that, wow, I didn't realize how much people need that. They're hungry for hope.
Well, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think it's something unique in this all-female conference environment to peel back those layers and connect with those women. And the guys aren't going to do that, right?
No. Well, it depends. You can get them there, but you got to have a really safe place
it's really
to do
tough.
that. Yeah.
So as you're here with this conference, and you heard all these women get up and tell the story of their business, what's going through your head? Because I bet you're like, I could work with her. Oh, that one's a good one. I can help that. It's probably hard for you to watch them tell their stories because you want to work with them all, I assume.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, not even just work with them. I want to go grab them and hold them and just go, you are amazing. You have this brilliance. And I mean, I'm seeing a lot of things, so I'm going to fess up to something. Yeah. It's fascinating to be around such, when I say brilliant, and when people say, okay, such successful women, everybody's success is a little different. But when I see these women that I sit there and go, wow, look what you've accomplished, and then you know that they're a real human being. When we pull back the layers of the onion, everybody's been through their stuff. And I think what's been empowering is to say, let's start sharing some of that. And I'm going to be blunt. Let's start sharing some of the crap we've been through, because I think that's what makes us real, and that's what gives hope. And I think part of this has been great for me to see that there's other women. Like I used to think, honestly, I used to feel like I walked around with a black cloud over my head. It's like I'm the only one that's ever been through this kind of crap, right? Losing your home and having you just think you're the only one. And then when you start finding out that there's other people out there that have been through the same stuff, you're like, oh, really? Can we go talk? Can we like I've never been able to be honest. And I want to bring that to the world, JB. I just want women to know this too shall pass. You can be at your rock bottom and there's someone else that's been there. And I truly believe that's why we're all here and why I've been put here.
I have the theory, and you could probably attest to it more because you've worked with so many people. Quite often that rock bottom was the propeller to start where they ended up, very, very high. They wouldn't have got there without that horrible cloud feeling you were talking about. Do you see that as a recurring thing?
Totally.
Yeah.
Actually, and when we talked about grace and courage and all the things that are great words, it's your resilience. If it wasn't for that stuff that I've been through, I couldn't be the person I am sitting here talking to you today. So I don't look at that stuff as, I know this is going to sound funny, but I truly believe that it's like I choose to not live in woe is me, it's wow is me. And I think so many of us need to be rekindled to dream again, right? And you're going to go through your ups and downs, but it's that down that when you really look at what you've been through, I think it builds character. It's our resilience. It's tapping into that. And one of the things I love to do is to help people get back to like, why are we shoving that under the carpet? Let's own it. I mean, I bet you right now you're probably going back. There's stuff you've been through. I mean, men and women go through it, but it's like, that's who made you the strong person you are today, whether it's the persevering, tenacity, resilience, And we need that. We need more people. There's so many people out there that are living it.
Now, when you walked in here, you were excited to tell me what your dream is with all of this. Can we touch on that before we go?
Yes.
Okay, please.
I love that. And I think when you say with all of this, I feel like being a part of this empowering 1 billion women by 2020, what an opportunity to give back, right? What an amazing thing. But my dream is to really, I would love, and I'd love to have you even think about doing this, I would love to start celebrating and shining a spotlight on the people that are our everyday heroes. They're not the people that are out there in the press that were, you read about the people and they're on the covers of magazines and you're like, okay, I've heard about their adversity, but what about the lady I just met on the plane flying here that is literally single, juggling this and running a business? And I'm like, I asked her, I handed her my card, I go, can I interview you? I want to start shining the spotlight. Can we do that? Can we celebrate the people that we're not hearing about? But that's, I think, the unlock here. That's my dream.
That is, and that's the goal. That's where we're heading with EBW 2020. I mean, there's a lot of high-profile leaders like yourself, but then it's going to be uncovering some of those stories and the people that need help. That's where we're going.
I love that.
All
I
right,
love that.
thank you so much. If you want more from Holly, go to hollydowling.com, DOWLING.com.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, we're getting a little bit of a bonus segment here with Holly Dowling. Thank you for more time. And this is something that, Ingrid and a lot of us talked about with EBW 2020 is there's so many stories out there where women have been what, for lack of a better term, we're calling rock bottom. And it almost seemed too grim to overcome. And in retrospect, it's hard to believe where you are today when you think back of where you were at one time. And, you've divulged that there were several peaks and valleys, right, for you. What was the toughest one, the valley?
The darkest valley.
Yeah.
As you asked me that question, and it's been a big part of the journey of who I am today. And as I sit here and I already go back visually to that moment of my life, I have to be honest with you. It stirs up a lot inside me, and it's time because most people don't know the dark valleys of Holly's world. And I do believe it's for the empowerment of other women, right? We got to give it. So going back many years ago, and it's like you have to remember growing up and who I was, like, homecoming queen, you'd never end up thinking, you're always like, oh, tiaras and all this. You never end up imagining as a woman that you could end up sitting there in a room wondering what the hell happened to me. So going back many years ago, I was in a relationship that probably like a lot of women, I saw everything looked beautiful and like rosy and pretty, and before I knew it, I was in a situation that, to be perfectly honest with you, I was for 488 days, and I counted from the day it started to the day I finally left. I was told I was a stupid fucking bitch every day for 488 days.
Wow.
And then the moment that really, I was standing looking in the mirror, it had been a rough night. It wasn't just the verbal, it was, the physical stuff, but you start to believe it. You start to think, I drop something and I go, wow, I'm a stupid fucking bitch. So it's amazing how quickly we begin to believe the things we're told. And but I think the day that I had I have to say, a divine intervention was the day I was standing in front of a mirror, and I had been I'd been hiding outside in the snow in a tree because this person was running around with a knife and wanted to pretty much find me and be done with me. And by the time that night ended, and I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize my face. And I didn't recognize my face, and I didn't want to live.
And then, it's all right.
But there's a lot of people out there living like this. And I heard a little thing, and I can't explain what it was. I swear to you, it was that moment that I didn't think I wanted to live in this, whether it was an angel or God or whatever. It just said, you're worth more and you're beautiful.
And how did you get out at that moment? Did you literally just run get out and run?
In my pajamas. That person couldn't find me and had thought I had left. And in my pajamas, I grabbed my purse and my keys, and I was barefoot. And I went to the local hotel, and I called the police. And I got help so that I could get out safely. And I was basically hidden for a while so that, and I had a high-profile job at the time that people kind of knew who I was, so I had to kind of, be hidden and then...
Wow. Were there any resources for you? Or you know what I mean? I think we have more of that now.
There's a lot now.
There's a lot more homes and places and safe places.
Can I tell you
that are literally like an armory to keep
safe
these men out.
And I think that it's the domestic shelters. There's places they didn't have that back then.
Right.
The sheriff hid me. They hid me.
Wow.
Just so that I would be safe. And then I went back home to my parents, and there was a whole process involved to make sure that I would be okay. I will tell you, though, the fact that you just said that, they didn't have that back then. And one of my big dreams, and my team knows this, whenever I'm in a city speaking, I try to find a way to go in early or stay after so that I can serve at a shelter or be there to help, even if I can just spend an hour with women and their children and just give them hope.
And all these coaching skills that you have are now paying it back to these women.
And I never was able to talk about this for a very long time because, well, I don't know, I just didn't think that that was something the world needed to hear.
And I think I know the answer to this. Since you started sharing your story, after you get off stage, there's probably a line of women.
And they don't even get that story, JB.
Right.
They get one of the other dark ones. You're like, oh, great. What is that?
Oh, my gosh. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's going to help a lot of women. It's very courageous of you to do that.
Well, if that's what it's for, it's time. And I think there's a lot of us out there that it's time to step into that space. So thank you for giving me a safe place to do it.